women have all the power. I am very sorry to tell you, men, that you do not have the capacity to make life or to grant wishes. When men masturbate, they are not making life or granting wishes. If women masturbate, they can make life and grant wishes. These are not the same thing. And so you have two very different categories of people. Women do not require men in order to make life. And I will not speak further on this because I know that dark, evil people watch my things. They're like, all right, tell us about that. Or we want to know about that. I'm like, no, you're fuckface assholes. And I will not tell you about that. But people who are in my class, you just have to know that that is a thing. You might consider it to be a sense of parthenogenesis, but it is coming back to the sense of where and what we did in ancient concurrent Atlantis and how we created matter with our minds and also how we brought new life in. And please know that it is not an equitable exchange where males cannot make life on their own because they are very fucked up, and you don't give that responsibility to people who are super fucked up. All right. So in your world, women have been more vulnerable because you have estrogen, and it means your muscles aren't as big and you can't fight back as easily. And you have been vulnerable because when you are gestating, you are vulnerable. I keep using that word. Like, you need someone to help you to do stuff. You can't easily get food and water on your own. And then when you give birth, you need help giving birth. And then after you're taking care of your baby, you need time to get your body back into health and vitality. And then you're breastfeeding and you need 1,000 calories a minute because you're breastfeeding and you're using up so much energy. Like, your bodies are more vulnerable and you need to have more social support, even while you are empowered to create and gestate and generate life, but also to grant wishes. And in your present world, the males who are exploitive are often owning and controlling their wives, women, or girlfriends and taking wish-making energy from them in the sexual act without truly protecting and giving to the women. And it is not only a sense of sexual exploitation, but like resources exploitation. And what I'm trying to say as an example, many times women are wishing for their males to get a better job, get a promotion. And especially after women start to have the first babies, they're like, oh, we just had a baby. We need high chairs and stuff. Babies are expensive. We need stuff. And then she's going to be like, I hope my husband gets a promotion at work so that way he can get more money. Women do this all the time. And it is a use of your wish-making capacity that indirectly pays you. But what you really want to do is be in the act of lovemaking and say, I'm a woman. I wish for more resources to take care of all of my babies. But because you've been so indoctrinated into being disempowered and owned as chattel, you're like, I can't have a job. I will have money come to my husband, and then he will dole it out to me in the form of my food allowance and what I can buy at whatever the shopping center. And then he will take care of all of the other major purchases in our life. Like, this is hugely out of balance. And there's a lot of the male ego. I'm pushing a lot of buttons if you're a man and you're listening to this, and I hope that you're a good man listening to this. I'm sure I'm pushing a lot of buttons about your ego, about like, who am I to say these things, or this stuff isn't real, or it's not the way it's supposed to be. But what I'm talking about are energetic and biological realities. And there is a huge difference between what women can achieve in terms of their passion and their sexual energy without a partner, and what men can achieve with their passion and their sexual energy and without a partner. Men don't even really have an innate divine connection to be able to have creative new ideas. But you're like, Aurora, there have been so many artists throughout the world who are men, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, all these different things. I'm like, I know. And you know what? A lot of them were having sex with women and getting inspired by the women that they had sex with. This is called having a muse. In the world where women weren't actually empowered to earn their own money or be artists on their own, they could be an object of beauty who was housed like a zoo animal and had sex with like an object to inspire a man to be an artist, and to direct siphoning from the act of sexuality and a woman's womb and all of her creative energy into him. And then finish having sex, be like, I'm so inspired. I'm going to go paint a painting now. Thanks, girl. And maybe I'll even paint a painting of you. Like, this is the art world for a very long amount of time. And I think I've spoken about this, and forgive me for repeating, but in this broken world, when women are not exploited and when they are not used as a sexual object, and when they have enough time for all of the energy drains to be healed. Because when you have sex, here's what you also need to know, girls, that there's a line of energy from the penis to your womb, and it stays there for 7 years. And you've got, depending upon the number of partners that you have had over 7 years, various different males drawing energy from your womb. And that could be really detrimental to your soul health, your energy, momentum at moving through life. And it can be what makes a woman not able to be self-volitional and successful. There are literal energy drainings that happen from having too many partners, and that's too many consensual partners, but also too many non-consensual partners. When women have been trafficked, used, or forced into prostitution, it is the ultimate in soul death, because it's like a fragmentation and a draining of them at such a profound level. Children who are trafficked and who are used in this way have the same problem. It's not just when it's consensual. This is when it is non-consensual. And there are, someone's asking out there, isn't there a way to speed it up and not just have to wait 7 years? Yes, there are different the rectification, the breath, when you're able to do this breathing in and then releasing out, this deep, truthful work that you can do, quantum disentanglement with your partners. But then also, you gotta not get fresh penises in there. You're right. You want a clean house. You don't want to have to wait 7 years. You're going to want to do these rectification exercises and then not get a fresh penis string in your womb, taking your energy. And for women who are able to do that and either clear themselves out or remain celibate for more than 7 years, they have amazing levels of success in business. They're not being drained by their partners. They're doing all sorts of creative things, art, music, building, all of these different things, very, very different than when males are draining them. And there is some good biology in this too. If you want to go down the biochemical, physical, materialistic route of investigation, there's stuff that is in semen beyond the quotient of sperm that is in there that are chemicals that would be considered tranquilizers that have an impact on female consciousness. That when you are exposed to semen, you have to consider it as being exposed to a type of drug that is like an immune suppressant that makes it more difficult for you to think your own thoughts and feel your own feelings, more difficult to erect boundaries, and more prone to exploitation or having energy taken from you. Just in the same way, like if somebody gives you a hypnotic or a tranquilizer and you're like, I'm too drunk to care, take whatever you want. Like that is what semen does. And even when you are not procreating, but you are exposed to semen, so you're not conceiving a baby, but you're still having that go into your system, it takes down your boundaries. It's just like drinking wine or something like that. It takes down your boundaries and makes it harder for you to say no to that person who put the semen inside of you, or to erect a boundary against them, or to say like, I don't like what you're doing, or any of these things. You become very like, and that is a real problem once women expose themselves to this type of tranquilizer from their partner, and then not having the spinal support, like not having the backbone and the structure to be able to then confront them. And then that's a biological reality too. And let's say the sexual revolution post World War II in America and other places like Europe was not helpful towards women at all. It was not a feminist revolution. It meant that women would be more likely to be burdened by excessive numbers of penis strings, draining their wombs and making it much harder for them to live independently. So you don't want that. You don't want that. It is the biological imperative for women to have less partners over their life. And it is the biological imperative for males to have many partners over life. And this goes back to the origins, at the time of the pyramid. That was truthful then as it is truthful now. But your social dynamics and structure were different. Back then, women were in charge and they were like, I don't want to have 22 boyfriends. I want to have one boyfriend, and he sticks around and does the right thing. And we build a family, build a life together. And the men are like, no, we want to have whatever, 22, 25 million. But women were in charge, and so they protected their bodies from having 22 million penis strings put into them. In this world of the past 6,000 years, where women have not been in charge, we had women who were severely exploited. And that means they didn't get to choose their partners, or they didn't get to choose when they had their partners, or how many partners they had. And they also didn't get to choose their pregnancies. So you guys don't even know. In the ancient world, of course, women controlled how many times they got pregnant. and when. And they were not always pregnant in the sense of the Dark Ages in Europe, when women at that time had access to zero amount of self-education about their bodies, zero amount of birth control, and zero amount of mentorship. And they had so many pregnancies during their life that they were always pregnant. Pregnancy is extremely draining. If you don't know this, and I've never been pregnant, what you all need to know is that pregnancy is extremely draining to the woman. It takes a lot of calcium out of their bones. It completely draws on energy reserves that are difficult to restore. And in the times where women were continually pregnant, women were continually drained. And in the Dark Ages, this is why women did not have teeth. Like literally, if you had teeth, you would be considered a gorgeous Marilyn Monroe, because every time you have a baby, you lose a tooth. This is a folk wisdom. And of course, most women get them, whatever, capped or replaced or something like that. But it takes so much calcium out of your body if you're not able to, restore yourself. You have this problem. And yeah, so of course they had terrible nutrition and no self-determination, and were pregnant all the time and lost their teeth. And they were used like the way that you currently have dogs at puppy mills. If you have ever seen the dogs that get rescued from there, that is what women were used like in those times in Europe. And that is not how women were used in the time of the Great Pyramid. Okay. So there's this huge distinction that is not accidental of what actually happened. So I'm finally getting, I know this has been an incredibly long lecture. Thank you for being with me through this whole marathon, but I'm finally getting around to it. What happened during that time of 40 years of wandering in the desert? And what happened with the erection of the first temple? This is the crux of what you need to look at in order to remove Satanism from your world right now and truly live as free people. The Bible was given during that time. As I said, the Israelites carrying the covenant,